Okay, I'm going to talk about some myth and reality in the world of high-end optics, especially with regards to what a lot of people want to consider to be professional grade or special operations grade tactical type scopes and optics. And a lot of this has to go to the fact that there's a lot of been there, done that people who are given advice in internet forums, and then there's people who read or lurk or even participate in a lot of that stuff and say, well, you know, here's what the Green Beret said, here's what the Navy SEAL said, therefore it's valid stuff for me. And that's without knowing somebody's real situation. And when it comes down to military credentials, sometimes those high-end credentials aren't necessarily going to be able to give you the best advice for your situation because it's not the same as theirs. And even with a lot of those guys, their situation has changed as they've aged. Now, one of the big things that's going to affect the type of optic that will work well for you is what the condition of your eyes are. Now, when I first joined the Marine Corps, I knew that I wore glasses. And when I showed up to boot camp, I showed up wearing my own glasses. Then they wanted to issue me theirs, like uniform. Now, the recruiters, I'd met recruiters that wore glasses, and they said, yeah, as long as they don't look too wild and different, you just, you know, you can wear your own glasses. You get to boot camp and they give you these, okay? This is what they would call birth control glasses because they look so butt ugly that people really wouldn't think much of you when you wear them, which is really a problem. The other thing they did was they wanted to have a really clear marker in picking out which recruits they would consider not suitable for certain jobs, such as anything to do with piloting or working around aircraft. Snipers, if you wore glasses, you're not eligible for sniper school, period. Recon, you had to get a waiver for that. Regular grunts, you could wear glasses. In a lot of your blue-collar professions within the military, it was fine if you wore glasses if you're any kind of a technician or mechanic, because a lot of the work you're doing is technical in nature, where you're using equipment that you ought to wear safety glasses anyway, and the old birth control glasses, they count. Now, by the time of Desert Storm, Desert Shield, something that was really popular was Ray-Ban sunglasses. And Ray-Ban glasses, you could get you could get Ray-Bans, and everybody thought it was cool. Well, you could also get the birth control glasses tinted dark, and they looked like Ray-Bans and they were legal. Okay, so you'd see grunts wearing glasses. When that was also about the time these ACOGs first came out. That's why I like this older 1990s model. There's a couple little things on it that look different from the current models. This is one of the newer clones right here. Now, what I wanted to direct your attention to is the original way the mounts would work on these things is that it's a M16A2 carry handle mount. So this little part here is made to go on to the M16A2 carry handle. Your rear sight assembly would be right about here, and this actually reaches back pretty close to your face. Okay? The other thing is that on these scopes, they're going to assume that either A, you have the eyesight that would be eligible for sniper school, because these were a designated marksman scope, so they would figure these are going to be used by somebody who doesn't wear glasses. The other option is there's enough eye relief that if you're wearing these with glasses, you should still have about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of eye relief. The closer you can have the front lens and the rear lens on a scope, the better the light transmission is within that scope. Okay, the better the light transmission. One of the reasons a lot of other normal kind of sporting scopes are designed long is so that you could have a bolt action rifle action underneath the scope. The eye relief would be pretty comparable, and then the front lenses, rear lenses on this, and the magnification are actually comparable. This is a 4x32 scope. It's got a 32mm front lens. This is a 4x32 scope with a 32mm front lens and a 4 power. The ACOG, same basic story. I think it might be a 3.5 power, but it's the same basic class of magnification and front objective lens. Now what's going to happen is when you get into much more expensive scopes, you have a higher grade of glass on the front of the scope, but as soon as you start sticking anything up front, your optical clarity drops to the lowest of the devices that you're looking through. For example, if I were to look out of a dirty window like here, what's my optical clarity? Well, it's the dirty window, okay? If I'm looking through a kill flash device, what's my optical clarity? Well, it's actually going to be reduced a little bit because of that kill flash device. And that's one of the things you're going to deal with. Now, with regards to your field of view, that's kind of controlled by the built-in on a scope, and this is made to be mounted a little bit closer to somebody's face than a long eye relief scope, or you know, something that's specifically made to have a longer eye relief. When you're looking at conventional hunting rifle type scopes and you see this knurled stuff back here, well, this is all adjustable, okay? And the reason this is adjustable is because on different lengths of rifle stocks and types of actions that a hunting scope would go on to, you want to be able to have an adjustable eye relief and an adjustable focus, because the end user, this may be a high recoil rifle, and you may be setting this up with a rubber eye cup, you may be closer or further away, but a high recoil rifle scope is going to come bouncing back at you, and if you're wearing glasses with that, that could really do some damage. So a lot of times on higher powered rifle scopes, or rifles, even if it's a low powered rifle scope but made to go on, let's say, a more powerful rifle or something like that, or styled that way, they're going to make all this stuff adjustable so that if you wear eyeglasses, you can adjust all of this to have the same optical correction that your eyeglasses have. Okay, so this is all adjustable. Now, if you get your ego wrapped up in the fact that you want to use the cool dude tactical scope and not wear eyeglasses, even though you probably ought to, you're going to notice that that scope is a little blurry. Okay, it's not going to come fully into focus. The same thing happens with Steiner binoculars. It's one reason I don't like Steiner binoculars. I own a pair. I gave them to my dad. And the reason is that they're what's called a focus-free binocular. My right eye and left eye are slightly different from each other as far as my eyeglass prescription goes. The Steiner can be focused on one side, and then when I set it up, it just doesn't work right for me. And the eye relief on the Steiner binoculars doesn't work well for me when I'm wearing eyeglasses. Everything kind of fogs up and gets bad with me. And that's one reason I personally don't use those. Now, what I notice with these is I can use these with my eyeglasses on. If I look through the authentic ACOG without eyeglasses on, that crosshair will never go into focus at all. If I look through the clone without eyeglasses on, I can focus either on the image or on the crosshair, but usually not really both at the same time unless I squint really hard. If I wear eyeglasses, I'm not going to have that problem. Well, the other thing that somebody is going to run into with regards to especially EOTechs with a laser illuminated image in there. Battery's dead on this, and it takes those oddball end batteries, went dead sitting there. And one of the things that's going to happen, though, is I know a guy started out in the tactical world in his early 30s, and he really had his shit together, knows what he's doing, was a tactical instructor for a long time. Used not the EOTech, but the Bushnell Holosight when it first came out. Lately, he thought maybe his Holosight deteriorated because things were getting blurry. He could never focus with it. Did a little research, found out it wasn't the sight that started to go bad, but it was his eyes. Okay, he's in his mid to late 50s now, and as your eyes age, you may find yourself not being able to use a laser illuminated reticle anymore, because these things are tuned for somebody with perfect eyesight. And even if you wear eyeglasses to correct, because this is closer to you and it gives the illusion of your crosshair being on the same focal plane as what you're looking at, but it's not on the same focal plane as what you're looking at. It's the illusion of that. You're going to have a focusing problem with an authentic EOTech. That's one of the reasons a lot of guys will go over to an aim point or one of the higher quality dot type scopes. But what I've noticed with dot scopes, whether it's an off-brand or an aim point, but for some strange reason, with the higher quality Japanese ones or the Swedish aim points and those types of things, that I had to be wearing my glasses to get that dot. Now, every once in a while you'll find one that focuses. Most of the time they don't. And so if somebody says, hey, I was looking through an aim point, or I was looking through a cheap Chinese dot scope, and it was blurry, and the crosshair was blurry, and I didn't think it should be blurry. Well, that's why you really need to compare high-end and low stuff side by side to see which features of that sort really are unique to the lower grade unit, or whether it's unique to the nature of the device that you're trying to use, whether it's a high grade or low grade. Because most of these, whether they're high end or low end, whether it's a high end on the EOTech or a low end, or maybe even one of the EOTech clones or knockoffs, you can't focus that. Okay, you have to wear the eyeglasses, and you know that's the eyeglasses. These are military issue eyeglasses that you can't get them outside the military. I don't think you can get these old BC ones within the military either anymore. And that's just the reality. It's using the optics. So if you have an optical issue with, maybe it's time to update your eyeglass prescription or go and see if you need to get those, then that's what you need to do. Because the chances are, if you're really having a problem with an optic that was recommended to you based on, 35-year-old high-speed, low-drag guys using it, you also have to realize that their medical requirements for those units are such that their eyes are going to handle that equipment. It's not the other way around, okay? And so that's one of the things that we're educating people on right now.